Okay, enough of that. Right, let's get down to business. Hello Darts Nuts. As you can probably guess by the epic intro, I'm going to review the Blade 4 dual core by Winmore. It's only just come out. It retails for £44.90, and I guess you're all wondering what's different between the Blade 4 and the Blade 4 dual core. Well, it's not a new Pentium processor, if that's what you're thinking. What it is a new construction regarding the layers of sisal, or sisal as it should be pronounced. You've got a dense underlayer of sisal, as you can see it there, and then there's another softer layer which is on the top of that. Now the whole idea of that is so that when your dart hits the softer layer, it penetrates easy, but then it's retained by the firmer, denser layer of sisal underneath. So the theory is that as your dart hits that soft layer, it loses some of its kinetic energy. It carries on into the denser layer, which holds the dart in place. So hopefully it should prevent less bounce outs and less dropouts of your darts. Now, the Winmore development engineer joined Darts Nuts forum, and he posted in the thread that we had about the Blade 4, and this is what he wrote. As far as I can tell, it's got 4 new features. One is this double layer of sisal, the other is the new Roto Lock system, the third feature is the vein-free surface of the top layer, and then the fourth feature is it's using new inks on the black and the red and the green. So I'll read what it says in here. This is by Lee Huxtable, development engineer, Winmore Dartboard company, as he posted on the forum. It says, great thread guys, and some interesting and insightful posts. Just to give you a bit of an idea of the concepts behind the dual core and Roto Lock systems from within the Winmore camp. Dual core is the world's first dual density dartboard. The outer core of the dartboard is the perfect density for receiving and retaining darts. The density has been tested across the whole spectrum of scenarios, including different types of darts, points, throwing styles, angles of entry, and even deflected darts, so that it has easy penetration and the maximum chance of retaining a dart for high scoring potential. So it sounds as if they've put it through its paces and give it as much testing as possible to find out whether or not the idea works. The inner core of the dartboard has an increased density that increases the resistance of the dart point from excessive penetration, thus dramatically increasing the life of the board, which is a good thing. The outer surface is perfectly even, with no cracks, joins or intersections of paper, tape or any other means of holding together the sisal during manufacture. A new ink formula has also been developed to eliminate the chance of individual sisal bristles binding together, and also prevent ink transferring from the black segments to the natural segments for the most vibrant, long-lasting dartboard possible. That's one thing I used to note on the Blade 4 board, is I would get black spots on the white segments. Now I didn't know whether that was from using black points or the fact that I hold my finger on the point and it was absorbing the ink from the black part and then going onto the white segments. It sounds as if that's what the reason was, so it'll be interesting to see whether this new ink eliminates that problem. I hope so, because when you get the black spots it doesn't look very good, but I'm quite hopeful with this new Blade 4 dual core that everything's been thought about in that respect. The process and concept has been patented and is the most advanced dartboard base ever constructed. The Roto Lock system is another patented concept that incorporates a tripod system of threaded wheels that protrude from the outside edge of the dartboard and are spun to apply direct pressure against whatever surface the board is mounted on. from 3 equally spaced points. The board can be perfectly levelled into a rock solid position within seconds. No more need for beer mats or wedges, as this system can cope with any surface. The board is hung on standard existing dartboard brackets, utilising a brand new flanged centre screw that sets the depth of the screw perfectly. That's one thing that I was wondering about, to be honest, because when I seen it in the box I thought it's still using the same system that they always use, which has been used for years now, but it sounds as if they've had to slightly change the angle of it to probably allow for the Roto Lock wheels. So I'll be interested to find out exactly how that works. So anyway, that's from the development engineer. It still uses the Blade 4 spider, which is an excellent spider. It's very flush to the board. That's the reason why it's still called a Blade 4, because the name of the board derives from the spider. So because they haven't changed the spider, it's still a Blade 4, but if they ever do change the spider, then that'll be the Blade 5, I guess. So let's have a look at the board. Right, as you can no doubt see, it's very vibrant. I think the colours do look a lot brighter. They probably don't come up on the camera as good as they do in person. The blacks are really very deep. The reds are nice and deep as well. The colour seems to be nice and even throughout the board. I can't really see much areas where there's any fading. Just a tiny bit on the bullseye there, and just a little bit around the 25 segment. Apart from that, it looks very even, nice and deep and vibrant. So what do you get inside the box? Well, you get a little booklet describing the game of darts with a little checkout chart, and you get the instructions for setting the board up. Tells you the correct height, and also you got the height for wheelchair users, which is a handy thing. Explains the Roto Lock system there. As you can see, the screw looks a little bit different. It's got like an extra thingy, but I'll show you that when I get out the packet. That's the idea of this Roto Lock system, is that if the wall surface or wherever you hang the board isn't very even, you can even it out by twisting the little wheels, and then that'll push the board out to whatever distance you need. Now for me, the house that I live in is quite an old house. I think it's built in the 1930s. I think it must have been built by the apprentices, and they must have been drunk when they built it, because a lot of the walls aren't even and they're not square. So something like this is a great idea, which I would probably need. At the moment I'm going to test it on my dartboard stand, but I'll show you that in a minute. So anyway, that's what you get inside the box, and then you also get the bracket to fix on the back of the board, the 3 little Roto Lock wheels, the screws for putting the bracket into the wall, that will go into the wall, and this goes on the back of the dartboard. As you can see, it looks like a screw with a washer welded into it, so I'm guessing that's to make sure that the board stands proud enough so that the wheels have got space to move. And we'll come to that when we fix the board up. Let's have a detailed look at the board then. As you can see, it's got the painted white numbering. It's quite tightly fixed on. It's got the new graphics to it. tell you the name, the dual core and the Roto Lock system. On first looks the surface is really flat, there's no visible veins like it says. I can't really see any major blemishes or anything. There's just a little bit of an edge there, which is probably where the machine has cut the sisal. Let's just test it with my nail. The white segments are quite soft actually. I usually find the coloured segments a little bit harder. I'll give it a test with my soft tip dart. That goes in nice and easy. I always like to test with soft tip because for some reason if a soft tip goes in okay, then you get a good idea of the density. Now it goes in really smooth and easy on the Red Bull, but it's a bit harder. It won't go in on the green. It goes into the soft white sections easy. It goes into the black, so why it won't penetrate the green, I don't know. So the green sections seem to be firmer, so whether that's something to do with the ink, goes in easy anywhere else. Obviously you're not going to be using the soft tip dart, so I'll just go a steel tip. Yeah, it's still quite firm on the green part. Obviously it's going to be more compressed around the middle because as the machine squeezes the sisal, that's going to be the more compressed, but I think it's probably got something to do with the ink. Maybe the green is a little bit more absorbent, so it might take a while to work in. Black, nice and easy. Now when you push it in, you can feel a difference as the dart goes in. It gets to a certain point and then it seems to, like as if it's grabbing the point. Now one thing I am noticing straight away is the holes are seeming to heal up quite quickly. Quite often when you stick a point in like that, it'll leave a big hole, but that's nice and clear. It doesn't even look as if I've had a point in it, so that's a good thing. But on the green sections it's different, so the red, nice and easy, goes in. The white penetrates that easy, it's not leaving any noticeable holes. So it looks like it's going to be a pretty good board. I was a bit concerned that if the sisal or sisal is softer on the top layer, whether that would mean a dartboard that doesn't last as long. But the way it heals up the holes there is a good sign. That's quite an impressive sensation, that, as the point goes in. I thought it might have I pushed it right into the barrel nose there and nothing, no hole. It's quite impressive, that. As usual, the Blade 4 spider is an excellent spider. It's very flush to the board. I did review the Gladiator 2 board not long ago, and before the Gladiator 2 the Blade 4 was my favourite board. I've always been impressed by the spider. I think the Gladiator 2 just outdid it a little bit because I think it lasted that bit better for me, but I have a feeling that this Blade 4 has got that little bit extra now, so it's probably going to be my favourite board again. I'll just have a look on the back so you can see what this Roto Lock system is all about. It's got the pre-drilled hole there for your screw. Now this is one side of new boards that I'd like to see improve. Just a second. I like to use one of these on my board, which is a rotating bracket where that sits on the wall, that fits onto the board, and then it slots in. Just get these screws out. Slots in like that, and then you can turn the board easy. It just turns around. So I'd like to see an improvement on that, to be honest. I mean, this system has been going for years now. It's okay, it's a tried and tested system, but you know, I'd just like to see something new. But it's not a major problem. It's just me being picky as usual. So you put your bracket into your wall, and then that screw goes into there, and then you slot the dartboard into that little groove. Now these little wheels, there's already pre-threaded holes in the board in 3 positions. You just screw them in, as you can see it goes all the way in, it goes flush with the back of the board, so there's no need for those rubber stoppers that you sometimes get. The other thing with these is they should prevent the board from like turning, and that while it's on the board it should hold it in place. So that's basically what the Roto Lock system fits like, and when you go back to the front of the board it only protrudes just a tiny little bit over the edge, so it's just enough to get your thumb or your fingers in so you can turn it and push it into position. One thing I like to do with all the boards is just check how square the spider is on the board. It's just something I like to have a test of, just to see how well it's been quality control tested. Let's reset this. So it's 55.1 millimeters. 55.8. Get the edge of that, the spider. 55.4, and the bottom is 56, so it's pretty much square. There's nothing really in it. Now the bullseye looks nice and square to me, but I'm just going to test it anyway. .09. .1. 7.8. It's only what, 1/10 of a millimetre difference really, so that's another good sign. It looks very uniform all the way through, so I'll just have a quick check on the width of the trebles. I'll go from the inner corners. 29.4. That's 29.23. I know this is a bit pedantic, but that's 29.4. It's something that I like to just check. Let's go this way. .7, so it's only fractions of a millimetre, so it's a uniform spine. You can't really tell anything. I'll just show you something in a minute, just to show you how lucky we are to have such great boards these days. I just want to check the width of the treble. It's 8.8. I think that sounds about the same as the last blade 4 that I had. So 8.75. So that's, yeah, it's exactly the same really. Just want to show you this. Alright, this is an original Winmore board from 1978. It's in pretty good condition for its age. It's 35 years old, but you can see straight away how much the boards have advanced. These are using the old round wires. It's still a really nice board to play on. The sisal is really soft on this. It makes a lovely sound when the dart hits it. It's almost like as if the dart's going into jelly. But when you compare this to the modern board, there's a massive difference. The quality is so much better these days. They're really lucky to be around now. There's a lot of the development seems to be in soft tip darts, but soft tip is still a relatively new version of the sport, so steel tip has been around for over 100 years, and the fact that people like Winmore can still come out with new ideas to advance the dartboards even further, it's excellent. Idea for the modern darts player. They're obviously checking things all the time and seeing how things can be improved, but I would say the only thing that I'd like to see improved is that the fixing bracket. Everything else looks spot on. The ink is so vibrant. The sisal is probably just perfect, the density of it. I had a blade, not a blade, a Bull's Advantage 2 board. That was really very hard. For the first 3 months or so I was getting a lot of dropouts and bounce outs. It was really disappointing at first. It took a long time to wear in, but the fact that the sisal was so dense, it meant that the board lasted a long time. So that's the only thing that I can't review here, is how well the sisal is going to wear. I can't test the longevity of it in this review, so that's something that I'm going to have to update on in a couple of months' time after I've been using the board. There's not really much else I can say. Other than the spider's a great spider. It's nice and flush to the board. The spider I had on the Bulls 2, I didn't like that at all. It was raised quite high up from the surface of the board, and after 2 years it looked like it'd been in an earthquake. It was bent and bits sticking out all over. And I did buy a Unicorn HD when that came out, but the problem with the Unicorn HD was it had a very similar spider to the Bulls, which I wasn't keen on, and after a few weeks the spider started to lift out of the board. I got a replacement from Unicorn, but I've hardly even used the replacement and the spider has lifted out again, so I was not very happy about that at all. But I don't think there's any problems with the Blade 4 spiders. The one I had before had no issues with it. The other problems with the spiders on the Unicorn HD and the Bulls is that because it's raised up it casts shadows from light. So I'm just going to fix the board up now and then I'll explain it a bit. Alright, before I fix the board up and have a few throws, I just want to do a close view of the board so you can get a good look at it. I'm just going to go over the board with the camera as usual, because the camera automatically changes as the light changes. The colours might look a little bit different because it gets reflections from the white segments and that. So as you can see, the spider it's barely above the surface of the sisal. It's very flat as well. It's an excellent spider, the Blade 4. Let's move along to the Bull area. You can see the holes on the green segment there. I think it's probably something to do with the ink. Maybe the green has a slightly different property to the blacks and the reds, so may make the sisal, I keep calling it sisal, may make it the fibres a little bit more denser, I think. But obviously as your dart's going through the air, it's going to have a bit more velocity behind it. It's not going to be a problem, I wouldn't have thought. But you can see how it leaves the holes there. But I should imagine that that'll eventually it'll get softer. Oh, so let's show you the dart going into the see, it goes in, and as it goes further in, it's harder. There's very little mark there. It seems to heal up, and now the hole is gone. Let's try that in a black segment. This is quite a worn point as well. See, that hole almost healed up itself there. I can't hardly see where it is now, just that little bit there. Now it's gone again. So that's a good sign, that, if the holes heal up well. Alright then, let's get the board up and get some darts thrown at it. Right, I've just fitted the board onto my stand. My stand has got a plywood backboard on it, but it seemed to fit on very easy with the new screw that they've got on. I was surprised really, because it just went on so easy. I thought I'd missed the screw and I was a bit afraid to let go of the board, but it just located perfectly, which was good. So it still turns nice and easy. I've not tightened up the locks yet. You can see the lock just there. It's a bit hard to get the lighting right, but what I'm going to show you now is the fact that on my dart stand the board isn't level, and if I put a spirit level on the board, you should be able to see that the bubble isn't level. So hopefully by using the Roto Locks I'll get it level, so I'm just going to do that now. Right, I've just been turning the locks, the little wheels, and I should have the board plumb now. See if I can zoom into that. There you go, it's plumb. But that's one impressive aspect of the Roto Lock. Now the other impressive thing, I'm getting the zoom right. This is one thing that I wasn't sure was going to work, but the board is solid. It's not turning. So those little wheels, not only do they keep the board nice and flat, plumb, level, or whatever you want to call it, but they also stop the board from turning, which is the idea, I suppose, why it's called a lock. So it's an excellent idea and very impressive. A simple idea works so well. Right then, let's have a few throws at the board and see how it performs. Right, I'll just have a few throws at this board. I'm just going to use my 24-gram Falcon GT darts on it. Let's just see how it goes. Well, the first impression on the sound is not going to be exactly the same as it would be if it was on a wall, because it's on my plywood backboard, which is on my dart stand. But there's a definite difference to the sound to my other board. It has a quieter sound. The board itself looks nice and clear. I'm just going to throw a few darts just around the board. Sounds pretty much even no matter where you throw the dart. Throw a few on the bottom. Yeah, it sounds exactly the same everywhere you throw the dart. So that's a good point. Means the sisal is nice and even in density. See if I can hit a bullseye. Highly unlikely. Yes, got one. If you notice, you can see the marks on the green. I've put a few holes on the green parts and a little bit on the whites, but the white ones, with just a little bit of a dabbing, they heal up really quickly. I don't know if you can see any of the holes on the camera, but like I showed you before, the green ones seem to be keeping the holes longer, whereas the holes on the black and the white segments seem to be healing up really quick. Obviously when your dart's hitting it at a certain velocity it's going to leave a hole when you first pull it out, but after a few minutes they're just healing up. If you give them a little tap with your point, then it looks like there's never been any holes there. So that's quite impressive. I'm going to see if I can get a close-up of the dart going into the board now. Alright then, I'm going to see if I can get a close-up of the dart hitting the board. I just hope it doesn't bounce out and hit my camera. It's pretty nervous doing that, but hopefully. To see how the board wears, but I think it's going to be quite an impressive board on my first impression. So that's the end of the review, and thanks for watching.